This is Fam Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Teddy Bloom. You're a cyclist, and you ride cross country for civil rights. I want to welcome you to the Phantom Electric Ghost podcast. How you doing tonight?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. So I'm excited to talk about my trip across the country on my bike. But yeah, it's great to meet you, and I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, we always like to talk to people from around the world. We do it in a live format. We have a live podcast. We're on LinkedIn and YouTube right now and Kick Live. But one of the things we go ask any guest before we get to the heart of your story is like, what motivates you and why do you do what you do?
So I wanted to do something different. Once the my cycling my cycling tour was politically motivated. What was happening in the first Trump administration is a lot of families were broken up because of ICE.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty early in the administration, I wanted to do something about that. So in March, I got the idea of like, I want to do a protest, but I want to do something different that can stand out or something that gets more people's attention. So I thought of, well, I live in northern New Mexico, which is honestly very blue.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to do something that was not just preaching to the choir. And I thought, well, maybe we could do something like I could do something across America or something like that. And I was like, I could walk. That would take years, and I don't have time to do that. Yeah. So, but no, I decided to ride my bike. So I started planning it early March. And I was thinking like, yeah, could I do this? And once I got in my head, I really couldn't get it out. And I started routing day by day. So I was like, okay, so I start here. I'll start at the Golden Gate Bridge. That's kind of iconic. I can go to this park, go here, go here. And the concept was, I ride a certain amount of distance day to day, and I had the schedule up on my website, and people could come ride with me and protest if they wanted to.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah,
So you
day
have
after
people to ride
day,
with you? How many people did you get to ride with you?
not a ton. I think total it was like 10 or 11. And then people would come at the start and the finish to say hi if they weren't cyclists. So
Mm-hmm.
pretty early on, it's pretty hard to coordinate where people want to meet you in smaller towns. So what I would do is in big cities, I would do short rides that anybody could do at any level, a couple
Okay.
miles.
You
That's
don't
it.
have to be like an Olympic cyclist.
Yeah. Because I mean, the other days I would ride pretty far, obviously. So this wouldn't take 100 years. So a couple of people met me on the days that were longer days, kind of in the middle. One of my good college buddies rode with me through the middle of Illinois for about 100 kilometers.
Wow.
But most of the time, it was just people did meet me in big cities for these short rides that would go from like a city park to like city hall or the state. When it was state capital, which I had 7 state capitals, I would always end at the state capital
Mm-hmm.
for that way. And that way, it was more accessible to the general public.
Did you have somebody like filming it, like driving, like and filming you, or did you?
So this was a complete solo trip. So I have a YouTube channel, and I hooked up a camera to the bike,
Oh,
um,
those
an
type of
action
cameras.
camera. So I filmed each day and talked about it. And it's mostly like a little cycling vlog. And then once I got to Denver, I got over the mountains, which after I got over the mountains, I realized, okay, I can carry more gear now because the weight of the bike is very important when you're doing a bike packing trip.
Yeah.
So yeah, to clarify, so the sport is doing is bike packing, which is a very niche sport. So it is what it sounds like. You have your bike, and you got to put all the stuff that you need to live on the bike somehow. So I would have a gravel bike, 2 panniers attached to a rack on the back, a tent tied to that rack, a front bag that goes around the front and wraps around, and then a frame bag that goes in the middle. And then I would fit all the recording gear and all the computer stuff, as well as
How much does that bike weigh?
I think it changed because I changed gear so much, but I want to say it was like an extra 25 to 35 pounds, depending how much I was carrying. I started way too heavy. So I don't have experience in this. I thought this was a good idea and I believed in it, but I did not have bike packing experience at all before I did this.
Oh, wow.
I had to get a
That
new,
could be a problem.
yeah, I know. So the first really month was a huge learning curve. I had to buy a new bike. I bought a gravel bike, which is kind of like a road bike, but it's a little more
A little heavy, a little
tougher.
more. Well, yeah, because if you're on the road and with dependent on the roads, like
Yeah.
a real high end cycling bike, it's great, but
Mhm.
it might not be able to handle what you're trying to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And a gravel bike's considered kind of like the all rounder too. So that's why I kind of went with that one. But I did hit some like pretty big mountain bike trails, which was not great for the gravel bike, but
Yeah,
I
it's
made
not
it.
gonna be like what my downhill mountain bike can do with all my gear, the gears and the disc brakes and all that stuff.
Oh yeah. So,
It's a
but
different
yeah.
animal.
So yeah, no, but yeah, but before, yeah, I struggled a lot in California because I started at the Golden Gate Bridge, and I had just way too much gear. I was riding way too heavy in the Sierra Nevadas. I pulled my hamstring, or strained my hamstring one of the days, and it was just
Yeah,
kind of a
those
nagging
must
injury.
have been hard.
Yeah, it was hard. Yeah, I got that was a huge wake up call. I had a really nice first week through San Francisco, Sacramento, and then as soon as I hit the Sierras, like a huge snowstorm came in and hit me. So I ended up staying overnight at a town called Pollock Pines. And then I was supposed to go to Lake Tahoe the next day. So get over the Sierras and go down to Tahoe, but the roads were still absolutely covered. So I
Terrible,
went up. Yeah, it was rough. I went up to Khyber, which is, I think there's a restaurant, a gas station, and that's about it
that's
there.
it.
Yeah. So, and then from there, I was able to go over to Tahoe. But even so, that was a really tough day too. Like I said, I was riding too heavy. I went up to a ski place off of Route 50, and I was going to go down these access roads that the people that maintain the
Like
ski
fire
resort.
roads, like fire roads, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Fire roads. Yeah. Those roads were still had a foot. I got around the corner. The road still had a foot of
Foot of
snow
snow.
on it.
Oh,
It's
no,
like,
and
oh, God.
you don't have
So
a snow bike, so you don't get the skis on it, so you can't
yeah,
go
it's like,
that.
oh my God. So I was already partway down. So I had to turn around and go back up. And then I had to go down on Route 50, which is like not safe for bikes at all. Like cars are flying down right next to you. There's not much of
It's like a single lane, like, highway or something?
two lane. Yeah, just single lane each way.
Yeah, that's
High
that's
road. Yeah, it
dangerous.
was really dangerous.
If
It was
people are
really.
Did you
uh
have trouble with people not being, like, bike aware?
Oh yeah, a lot. It was very interesting. It's like state by state if they're good. The worst was Missouri. Missouri, you feel like you're just invisible. I had one day, our RV came next to me and that was fine. Then they just turned right into the gas
Oh
station. I had to
my, yeah,
stop.
that's always
And
the
then
problem, turns,
yeah,
left-hand
yeah.
turns, and, like, motorcyclists and, like,
Mhm.
bicyclists, they take us out.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it's so bad. Yeah, it's so bad. But yeah, that was Missouri was the hardest. I did mostly bike only trails, so that made the state a little better. But I like almost got pushed off the road by a semi in Missouri too. That was pretty rough.
Did you
Um,
have people that were actually, like, really didn't like cyclists and actually, like, actually bothered you?
no, people were like, I mean, people kind of catcalled me sometimes in the cities, but nothing
Nothing
too
heavy.
harsh.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only time I would post, so when I did these city rides, I would post on all the social medias, "Hey, come visit me." And the only one I really got negative comments in was actually Pittsburgh, which was
Pittsburgh.
interesting, and not about the cause, but about bikes. And after
Didn't like
riding,
bikes. Yeah, there's some
yeah,
people that are really hateful about bike. I mean, I live in New Hampshire, which is
mhm,
pretty cool, but when I was in Mass a couple of times, like Springfield, Mass,
mhm.
there was people, like, they actually were throwing rocks at me.
Oh my
I
God,
had a helmet on, but they were like
yeah,
I was just riding on the street between going into a trail system,
oh my
and
God,
they just didn't like it. "Oh, we don't like mountain bikers." And
that
they just
sucks.
and I'm like,
Jesus.
"Really?"
Yeah, oh my God. So, yeah, luckily I had none of that, but that is rough. Jeez.
Yeah, well, there's some people, they just like to be obnoxious.
Yeah,
But,
that's true.
but the cause you're talking about is, like, it's really, like, even on steroids now with what's going on with ice now.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I'll talk about what was going on at the start of the ride, so we know where it came from, and it's certainly evolved since then. So one of the things was I wanted it was ride four rights with the number four. That's what I came up with, and I came up with four things that I wanted to promote that I think is important for a democracy to stay. So it's free speech, justice, education, and unity. And the philosophy behind that is you need to be able to speak freely about your wants and needs for the government to be able to represent you and improve your life and make it better. You need to make sure that your free speech is protected under justice and that everybody's going to have the same rights and equality. You need to be educated so you know actually what will actually benefit your life, what will help you, and to make the right decisions and what to talk about. And then there needs to be just a general feeling within the country, within the group, that when you're doing something, you're doing it to make either your life better or people around you's life better. There's not this issue of you personally doing something that is just to hurt other people.
Yeah.
So that's part of
That
it.
that's one thing I think some people confuse because like freedom of speech, you could yell fire in
Mm,
a movie theater. You
yeah.
could do it, but there's a consequence.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So a lot of people just think they can just blatantly. You could go to work and you could do something that's against the employee handbook, and you could say it, but then the boss could fire you.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So
What
if it's
I
when
mean,
people don't seem to understand like the level of like what it means for about
y
free speech.
yeah, I mean, you have consequences for whatever you do, but the idea of free speech is what was troubling me is, people were getting arrested for protesting and assembling, and that's like
That's
why that's protected under the Constitution and stuff like that. So that's important. Like you're still responsible for how you act, but you should not be
arrested for your
retaliated or
belief.
prosecuted by the government for it.
Well, that's the concern I have today is like
Yeah.
there's some folks today
Hmm.
that believe their freedom is to deny other people their freedom.
Oh, yeah, which is
But
insane. Yeah, which
but
is
that's
not.
their mindset. It's like if I my freedom is to deny this group this other because
Hmm.
what they do is offensive to me and it actually interferes with my life.
Hmm.
So they'll go and say, well, a migrant worker
Hmm.
that needs to come to this country. But because the idea that I'll just tag them as the other, that means they're offensive to me. So then suddenly they don't have due process. They don't
Hmm.
have freedom of speech. They shouldn't even have a lawyer. They're just the other. They're an invader. We're at war. It's like you don't know where like migrants have always come into countries to help. I mean,
And
and better themselves, and then suddenly they're marked as the enemy.
yeah. And I love how you worded that the other, because there was definitely a feeling when I was going through the country, and I really got a good gauge of how different states felt about certain issues. But there's a lot, especially states that are very far away from the border, they
Yeah,
do have this thing that, like, I live in New Mexico. I work, it's a border state. I work all over the state. So I've been around there. But especially like in the Midwest, there's this feeling like Pancho Villa's running around the Southwest with like the bullets strapped to him and stuff like that. Like just
it's
absolutely,
like a war. Like we have a Mexican
yeah,
American.
which is not happening here at all. It's like I don't know. So,
But it's
um,
like I think it's a good like punching bag. Immigrants have always been a punching bag. If you study history,
mhm,
any immigrant group that came into New York City,
yeah, oh yeah,
they would be to blame for the crime. So
it's
like any group that came in, the Irish come in, the Portuguese come in, any group come in, suddenly they are the cause of all the crime in the city.
mhm,
They're the cause of all the ill will in the city. It's always been the way to like take whatever the new group is
mhm.
and tag them as being the problem.
Oh, and it's fascinating history. If you go back in America, like back in the 1860s, it was the Irish that everybody didn't like, and then
Yeah.
later on it was the Italians, and then the Polish, and then
Portuguese,
eventually it's
or
yeah,
like in Massachusetts, like there was like a lot of Portuguese, and people
mhm.
would like come down on them.
Oh
We have
yeah,
the Irish, Russians, but it's like any group, any city you go to, you'll find like here's the Russian section, here's the Portuguese section,
mhm.
here's the Latino section, here's the West Indian section. Like the bigger the city, the more diverse it is.
Oh yeah, yeah. And usually that's where you go to get good food, in those
Yeah, that's
sections.
where all
It
the
is.
food is,
Yeah.
but the idea is that we're a melting pot.
Mhm,
And it's always been our GDP, and we've had some of the best one of the best economies because of the diversity. Because
mhm,
the immigrant comes and they create a business, and they bring
mhm,
an idea, they bring new food, they bring new culture, new flow, new blood.
mhm. And you
Countries that don't have good immigration have a lot of problems. Japan has a lot of problems because they don't have enough people.
yeah.
Like
And
I lived in Japan for 2 years.
oh, wow.
I was an expat, and I was brought there because like I was doing something that they needed to have been done, and because their population is too old,
Mhm,
and so but they have this mindset. Well, they kind of don't want immigrants, but they kind of need immigrants. But we had this flow where it was working, and then suddenly somebody decided it was the problem.
yeah, it's always been an issue throughout American history that, their immigrants are a problem to some people, but those people haven't been making the major decisions with
Yeah.
impunity as they are now, which is frightening, to be honest. So,
So we've gotten to a world where you know people have decided that they get like migrant workers. I can replace them with like AI robots, right? So but the AI robots aren't ready,
yeah.
right? So the strawberries and the lettuce is rotting in the field.
Yeah, they're the
So it's like they have these ideas, they have these big ideas, but
mhm.
they're not ready, right? And
Yeah.
something you go and implement something ahead of what, like, well, you can't really do that yet. You're not scaled to that. The farmer can't afford those AI robots.
Mhm. Oh, you're right. Yeah, yeah, you're right. So, um, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talk about that too. Like in the manufacturing industry, a lot of factories are run on mostly robotics now. So
Yeah.
there's not a lot of people,
People,
but yeah,
like, the
it's
idea, yeah, some of the, the terrorists that we're running into, the idea you're gonna bring it back to a 1950s mill or 1800s mill, like, if you go to
mhm.
Massachusetts, you see all these mill towns.
Oh yeah,
You're
yeah.
going, like, in my town, in Manchester, New Hampshire, this big Levi mill.
Mills
It's
all
by
over,
the big river, these old, like, Civil War armory mills.
mills and stuff. So
Yeah, they were all labor intensive. The world of manufacturing doesn't work like that anymore.
mhm,
So, you bring, like, a factory, you might get, like, 50 jobs.
mhm.
100, you're not gonna get 2,000 jobs.
Oh yeah, not
It
even.
it's all robotic.
Mhm.
Some Chinese factories have so minimal amount of people. 'Cause they're modern 21st century factories, hardly any people in it. It's all robotic.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. It's wild what you can do now, and very cool with the technology.
Cool, but it's like a different thing. So, like, the idea that you're gonna have this blue collar factory worker at a machine like it
It,
was.
yeah, it's not the world's
That's
just not heading that
That's
direction.
not the
Yeah,
direction. They're gonna
yeah,
have to know how to run a CNC, right?
yeah.
They're gonna have to be able to be what you have in China, you have a lot of people that have, like, engineering capability or mechanical expertise
Mhm.
and in very specific skill sets that we have kinda given that market away.
Yeah,
So,
true.
we don't have enough of the technicians that actually can do the level of technical work.
Mhm.
So we've gotten ourselves into this box where we think we're gonna have this panacea. Like Americans aren't gonna go work in the field. They don't want to do that work. And I know my people don't want to do it anymore. You ask a black person that you want to go pick cotton, it's like I don't think so. I don't think so. That's not on my list of things I want
Yeah,
to do.
going backwards. So, oh, but oh my,
But
but
yeah,
yeah.
the whole idea, but rights though, because some people think rights are just exclusive to what their idea of who a citizen is or who a resident is.
No, and they're important for, like I said, they're important for the democratic system, and it helps. People that don't agree with you, their rights help you in ways you don't know. If they're getting, if there's ideas coming through that benefit certain groups or certain groups, that group tends to flourish, and it helps people all throughout,
It
the country as
cascades. Yeah,
well.
which is it's like the melting pot
Mhm.
goes multiple direction. It's
Yeah, yeah.
multi-directional, right?
Oh, for sure, for
So
sure.
what you gain from, a physicist from Germany,
Oh, yeah.
from a designer from Italy,
Mhm,
from somebody, a tailor, somebody that comes from the Caribbean, somebody has this new idea. Like, all these ideas come from different experiences, and that has been our main, like, why we have all these entrepreneurs,
and
why
it's
we
certain.
have all these ideas,
Mhm,
because that's what it is. And even in the universities, they want to say no diversity of thought,
mhm,
no DEI. Let's have just the guys having the country club, the guys who like the trustee babies.
mhm.
Let's keep the people, the legacy guys. Let's only have legacy students. Let's not have no students from overseas, no students from other groups. Let's just make it homogenous.
Mhm.
Like, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, it kills thought for people that are motivated and trying to make better of themselves, but it also deprives people that were there already of meeting people who have different ideas and, can benefit from that. And when you meet a lot of different people, I've been lucky enough to travel. When you meet people from different countries and go different places, it gives you a lot of perspective on the world, and gives you some respect for people that maybe haven't had something for their whole life, or people that have had a different upbringing as well. So,
But I think there's a sense of safety. Like, xenophobia comes from this idea that you got to keep yourself safe from the wolf at the door,
mhm.
right? So the wolf at the door is always the other. It's
Mhm.
that language I don't understand. It's that person I don't know. I've never met a person that looks like that, and I've never met a person that talks like that. I've never met a person that has a different cultural perspective,
Yeah.
and it becomes a danger because we go when we want to protect ourselves in a tribal, put up the gate, put up the fence.
And a lot of that is people just aren't exposed to it too. So like I have a good friend. He's from middle of Idaho originally, and the part he was from, he said it was incredibly racist because no one had seen a black person in their whole lives there. But essentially, he ended up moving to Florida, which he said was a huge culture shock. But yeah, it gave him some perspective and stuff like that. So as well. But yeah, a lot of it, I believe a lot of people are generally good people, but just don't
Well,
have the
I think what the problem also is like when you're online,
background.
you can get into 4chan, you can get into some group,
Hmm.
and you can go and actively hate people, and
Yeah,
there's no real consequence, right? When
and
you're
you're also end up
online.
in an echo chamber too in a lot of those places where people just say, "Hey, this, and this."
This is a
You know,
reinforcement of what you already know and what
yeah,
you always want, and then the algorithm just gives you more of what you want.
yeah, which
More
I
of the
think has been a huge problem too, and a lot. I think it's been a lot of influential on a lot of younger people as well because I mean, I think as a society we weren't expecting with the kids now. We don't have any experience growing up on social media or growing up on the internet. The internet was new when I was a kid,
yeah,
and I'm in my
with the
late 30s.
information. I'm 57, so I mean, I'm a techie. In my day
Yeah.
job, I'm a tech guy,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And I lived with mainframe stuff. I grew up in the mainframe era. Now I'm in the AI era.
Yeah.
I learn exponentially new tech all the time. The one thing I hate, but one thing I rarely warn my tech bro friends
Mhm.
is just because the technology can do something doesn't mean it's good, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you can use anything as a weapon.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
like Oppenheimer learned that, right? So sometimes just because you can do it doesn't mean you shouldn't think about the moral and legal consequence of what you're doing.
Mhm.
Some people create things without that kind of frame. They never took history. They didn't take like social studies. They didn't take civics. They
Mhm.
didn't read the Constitution. Didn't read the Magna Carta. Didn't read any articles of the Confederation. Didn't read about Rome. Didn't learn. So
Yeah.
you fail to repeat the lessons of the past if you don't have a more expansive mindset.
Well, I love that you bring that up because we're almost repeating stuff now. Like, one of the big things right now is the America First movement. America First, that started in, like, the 1930s.
You know, it's a
And it wa
lesson from the 30s.
and it was from Germany. It was to keep the goal of the America First movement was sponsored by Germany to keep America out of World War
You know,
II.
Henry Ford wanted to align with the Germans.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and there was, who was I'm trying to remember who was the main newspaper. I think it was William Randolph Hearst who owned all the newspapers back
Yeah,
then.
he was like
I
the guy
think he was,
that
yeah, I
like
think he
the guy
was doing
Citizen
that
Kane
too.
started referring to.
So, yeah,
So Citizen Kane movie is kind of like like
yeah.
making like light of it.
I do love that movie. I heard it was people are like, oh, it's the greatest movie I watched. I'm like, oh, this is actually a really good movie.
But yeah, I love what you know Orson Welles was saying in that movie.
Hmm.
And he was actually reflecting something. I mean,
Hmm.
it's a made up story, but it has a lot of truth and fact in
Yeah,
real.
certainly loosely based off the era for
Yeah,
sure.
it's based off the era. It's based on the kind of it's like a lesson. You know, it's like a Orwellian lesson. But yeah, it's just this idea that people like don't understand the power dynamic because like power corrupts.
Hmm.
If you get the reason why back in the 30s, like when we had FDR, you started creating like gates. You started creating like the gates because we had the Great Depression, right?
Hmm.
So you had to create some financial gates.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then the people, the robber baron type of people, the tech bro type of people seem to have not learned the reason why we had these gates is because we had the Great Depression.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
we had this income during the what do they call it? Not the golden age, but
Gilded Age. Gilded
Gilded
Age.
Age
Yeah.
was there were no rules. There was no child labor laws. There
Hmm.
was no protection for retirees. There was no pension. There was nothing. So if you fell off the cliff, you off the cliff.
Hmm.
And the whole thing with FDR is he put some gates in place that some people to this day don't think those gates should exist. But then if something goes wrong, they want to be bailed out.
So,
And then, but we're all going to pay. But if you don't learn from the lessons of the past, because the lessons from that time were the totalitarian of like the Hitler and Mussolini and Stalin
mhm,
and you know, uh, Italy and the Empire of Japan, they
mhm,
decided to create the Axis,
mhm.
right? And there's a different type of Axis going on with like more, which nationalism is a kind of a threat to the whole world. It's going around everywhere.
Mhm.
And then we also have this kind of like these corporate oligarchs that feel no responsibility to the societies that bred their wealth
Yeah, yeah.
and
No, I agree.
and they just think that they should have their all the resources, all the power with none of the cost. And the regular person has to pay the cost.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's, interesting times we live in for sure. Interesting times.
Yeah,
So,
when a corporation can vote like Citizens United, their vote has more power than a regular person's vote, and it goes against your own interest, and then you align yourself with the interest of those people that actually take away your security. Like a union guy votes against his union, but
mhm.
doesn't realize he's voting against his union, and then ends out of work and
Yeah, and
in
that's
camp.
and again, that's like the education part of what I've been writing for. Like, you have to know what's going on to know what benefits you and, how it's gonna affect your life and the people around you as well.
Yeah,
And
because it's like if you don't read, if you don't learn, if you don't educate yourself, then you get manipulated by the social media.
yeah,
And
very
like an
true.
influencer who is being paid for by a billionaire
Mhm.
goes and pushes an idea that actually helps him get another yacht,
Yeah.
right? Helps him get another business, and takes away diversity in the workplace, takes away, creates these big monopolies.
Yeah, and it's so unfortunate that's happening now because if you're like me, I have a regular 9 to 5 job. I don't, when I read something online, I'm like, oh, is this real? Like, do I want to spend all this time going down a rabbit hole to figure out if this is the correct information
Well,
exactly that
the
I'm
thing
getting?
is like the problem is that a
Yeah,
capitalist system actually, and with the algorithms,
yeah,
right? It doesn't have to be true. It doesn't have to be morally clear, right? It doesn't have to be. It has to just be something that makes money. So
mhm,
when you have an ecosystem that where somebody can use hate and monetize hate,
mhm.
and they actually get millions of views, and they make millions of dollars.
Oh yeah,
And
rage bait.
they
Yeah.
go and they take it and they put it into the political system and then make it a law,
Mhm,
right? So then you suddenly you outlaw diversity, you outlaw opportunity, you outlaw migrants.
mhm,
So suddenly the speech actually becomes a law. So like I love free speech, but like you have to be careful of speech that goes into an ideology and then speech that actually becomes a law. And then you got conned into voting against your own interests because you weren't educated to know what the end result of those decisions were.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part of the misinformation and what goes on that people don't fully understand what's happening here. When I was writing, there was interesting groups of people that I met, liberal and conservative and everybody in between. But there was certain like conservative groups where there was like a hardcore MAGA group, and then you also met like white supremacists as well. But then there was an interesting group that I didn't expect of people that didn't understand what I was writing for.
They didn't get
And
it.
it was people that I wouldn't say they were like brainwashed or something. They just only watched Fox basically. And they're like, yeah, free speech and justice, but they didn't know enough about what's going on in the world to actually get that this was
But
kind of an anti-Trump protest.
they
It,
didn't understand what you were doing because I
yeah,
guess
like
you
they were like, oh yeah, there's stuff with free speech going on, but yeah, it was. I found that fascinating. I,
well,
I
it's
found
like
that fascinating.
well, yeah, like if you're in that ecosystem,
Yeah, yeah,
you think that free speech is only free speech for you.
yeah,
And that's the big problem because people think like there are people today, right? There are editors in newsrooms,
hmm
in papers that a reporter asked something that like 20 years ago they could ask a question. They didn't say anything inflammatory. They just asked something that actually is factually correct,
Yeah.
right? Actually, they're asking for something that it's a legitimate question, and they're
Mhm.
getting fired because it's ticking off like an oligarch's like a plan
Mhm.
or somebody's point of view, and that's against freedom of the press. It's like press are being told they can't ask hard questions that maybe offend somebody's like, oh, I point out that you actually are failing. I pointed
Mhm.
out that this isn't actually the right number. And I
Yeah.
actually have facts on my side. And because I asked a question, you say, well, I don't have a right to ask that.
Mhm. Yeah. Uh,
And then people think that that is, well, like because you're fake. So suddenly somebody just labels everything you say as fake. So
yeah.
then that means that you're some kind of like outlaw,
Yeah.
that you're the rebel, that you're the problem, you're the enemy of the state. Again,
Mhm.
that's kind of what's been going on. It's like suddenly, like freedom of the press is now I'm the enemy of the state. Can I ask a legitimate question from a
Yeah.
political leader? Like I asked him, like, is open carry got anything to do with what just happened? Oh, you got to get fired. Like, oh, like you get fired for asking a question like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And of course, that's terrible. And like you're pointing out very astutely, like that's part of like people not really understanding what's going on here too, because the press isn't able to, or is not just promoting or telling the public exactly what's happening
Yeah,
in
I mean,
all in all
the thing
media
is,
too.
the opposite is they suddenly say you're a communist if you ask about is open carry good for society? Is it good to carry an AR-15 or AK-47 or Uzi down the street?
Yeah.
Right? Well, it's bad if you're a gangbanger, but it's okay if you're in the Proud Boys. Right. So it's okay. Okay. So like it's bad if it was a Black Panther Party guy,
Hmm.
but it's not bad if it's a guy from somewhere like coming out of like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's like you can frame things and suddenly like well you're saying you everybody can open carry, but really no, not everybody can open carry the AK. Only certain people can really carry the AK. So then it
Yeah.
becomes very hypocritical about what you're saying. But then you try to frame it as like I'm talking about freedom for everybody, but really you're not.
Yeah, and it's hypocritical, and again, it goes against the free speech part, and I don't know, like there's so much clickbait and rage bait these days that people are just trying to put fear into people and put anger into people about all these certain issues where people forget how important it is that people they don't agree with deserve to say
Well,
whatever they
yeah,
want.
you
Yeah.
deserve to have that open debate, but then when you have an open debate that says, right, you're biologically inferior to me.
Hmm.
That's the thing you want to say. I said,
I
well, that's
mean,
fine that you can say that, but then when you go and put rules in place that basically say, well, if I'm biologically inferior, then I actually can't have a job.
when they put rules in place, and we should talk about that now because as of this recording, a couple days ago, the Supreme Court said that police can now racially profile Latinos to pull them. The ICE can racially profile Latinos to arrest them, and
You
that's
can't do that to go to MIT though. You can't have
yeah,
the DEI at MIT, but you can have that
that
to get
there. Yeah.
to check. So I could be a Mexican American.
Hmm.
I could have dual citizenship. I could actually have citizenship in Mexico in
Hmm.
here, and I could be speaking Spanish, right,
Yeah.
while I'm talking down the street, and then the cop can just grab me, and maybe I don't have my passport, and
Hmm.
maybe I forgot my driver's license. So suddenly I'm going to get detained for 48 hours
Yeah.
because I don't have my papers. But remember back in the 50s, we were critical of the Soviet Union for saying people got to have papers in the Soviet Union. If you're any of the parts of the Soviet Union, you had to have your papers to move around.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No,
But
it's very
that's not now we're being like communists, but you don't really know what communism is.
it is very reminiscent of the Eastern Bloc, the Soviets as well as the Stasi, which was East Germany's version of a secret police.
Yeah,
Which
you
was,
had to have your papers.
yeah.
And now we're telling people we have to have, well, certain people have to have their papers.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. But yeah, but it is wild. And I did want to bring up that case because the Fourth Amendment in the Constitution says you literally, you just can't do that. And
Yeah, I know. And they decided to do a
yeah,
shadow docket and come out and say some kind of nonsense that doesn't explain why you're violating the Fourth Amendment, other than, oh, these people, maybe they work at the Home Depot, or
yeah,
maybe they work in the fields, or maybe they work at the chicken cutting plant, right?
mhm,
And they happen to speak Spanish and they happen to be brown. So that's good enough to check them out.
yeah, and
Really?
yeah, it's awful, and it's such an encroachment on our rights, because it is, again, it's the Supreme Court ruled that way, but it's so clear that that's not allowed by the Constitution, and the group that's interpreting the Constitution is perfectly okay with
Well,
overriding it at this
they're
point.
just making choices that I guarantee
Yeah.
you, like, if that court is still in that condition, and you
Hmm.
have a Democratic president, and a Democratic president chose to do an executive order that they didn't like,
Hmm.
they would suddenly say that they couldn't do it and come up with gyrate to come up with the reason.
Yeah.
And that this is why, like, the problem is, like, if people remember what happened in El Salvador and Nicaragua in the 80s, like, when a court, like a Supreme Court, becomes not legitimate,
Hmm.
right? When it loses its legitimacy, it loses its luster, then you're losing part of the three branches of government. People don't believe it's legitimate.
Hmm.
That's part of the whole thing, is that you have to believe it's legitimate. If you don't believe it's legitimate, then you start to knock at the foundation of the core of the country.
Yeah, and I think that's certainly started to happen too. And this one hit me differently, because the other one, there was a lot of head scratching stuff that the Supreme Court has done recently, but this
It's so
one, it's
clear.
so, yeah, to say it lightly. But this one in particular, it's so clear in the Constitution you're not allowed to do that, and
But
it
they
would,
just decided
yeah,
they've just decided the sheer might. We're in the majority. We're gonna
yeah,
do a shadow docket. We're not gonna even show the precedent. We're not even gonna show the legal reasoning.
hmm,
We're just gonna say, "'Cause we're in the majority, it's so."
yeah, yeah,
Now that is so destructive,
hmm,
and these guys just think, I don't know, they think they're gonna be there for the next 50 years. They think that they can just do it.
yeah, which
And
is,
that just seems like might makes right. That doesn't usually sit well with a lot of Americans who start to really figure it out.
hmm,
They the Americans who actually go study.
oh
I
yeah,
was I was a government legal studies major,
oh okay,
and my brother, like, is graduate from, like, Harvard Law,
oh
and so
wow,
we have discussions, and we just get into these discussions. My best friend's a lawyer, and we just can't understand how how, like, the RNC just, Reagan, the Reagan mindset, even the Bushies.
hmm,
You really are okay with this? You really okay?
yeah. I don't think. I mean, Bush has openly said he's not okay with this,
Yeah,
like, about Trump. I don't think. I mean, Reagan. I mean, he was a very conservative figure. Certainly respected democracy too,
yeah,
and had a lot of positive things. And he was very adamant to keep stuff like church and state
it's separate.
separate as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they would have
So,
never aligned with the way they're aligning.
oh
Like,
yeah.
my
Yeah.
understanding of who they were, and I went to school, I went to Bowdoin.
Hmm.
I hung around Brown with my brother. He went to Brown, he went to Harvard.
Yeah.
So, like, I hung around a lot of these type of people.
Hmm.
I saw the young Republicans. I debated young Republicans at Bowdoin
Hmm.
back in '86. I was in the class of 1990, and, like, the debates we had then were actually okay. We could have a legitimate debate. We could
Hmm.
talk about trickle down. We could talk about what it means. We could talk
Yeah.
about your kind of this idea, this new world order that Bush had. We could have discussions about what you thought. We could have an argument. But these guys, they can't even explain what they're doing.
It is tough, and don't, and to you and also all your voters, never think that you can't discuss something rationally with someone else. There's a lot of people that make money from rage bait. The current administration is certainly bullying people like crazy, but if I on this trip, I made a point to talk to everybody I could when I had time, and I talked to conservatives, I talked to very liberal people, and I would have reasonable discussions with them, from like the hardcore MAGAs in there. And obviously I disagreed with a lot of people, and then agreed with some points of other people. But I was able to talk to people. So don't get caught in the internet loop that you always have to have a screaming match about politics.
No,
Like
no,
there's, yeah.
to me, just have a logical discussion. If you
Oh yeah.
point out, like, okay, this is what the Constitution says. These
Yeah.
are what the amendments are. So
Hmm.
when somebody says, "Oh, I want to go back to the original Constitution, the one that can't be changed," like, what do you mean?
Hmm.
You don't know what it like the Second Amendment. That's a
Yeah.
change to the Constitution. That's called an amendment.
Oh yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
you've got people who've been taught to by people who are like podcasters, and the only thing they know is like rage bait. They
Yeah.
they
Well,
they never they don't really have any facts. They just put out things.
unfortunately, there's a lot of money in rage bait, and that's why you're seeing that more than
Then that,
other spots. Yeah.
yeah, actually, I mean, it's one thing
Insane.
when you could have talked to somebody like back in the day from the Heritage Foundation, or talk to a guy from like Buckley, like what
Mhm.
we went with Buckley, or talk to some people like, you could have a discussion, you know, and they can make their argument, and you could prove like your argument, and then whether they agree with you, but you still put it down.
Yeah.
You put it down. Okay, well, I don't have your world point of view. Let's have a discussion. Let's not just say like you're evil.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you should be out of the country. Like you're an enemy of the state. Like we don't get to that. Like let's actually have a discussion without you doing that.
Yeah. And I also do want to point out, like when I was riding across the country, like most people were very respectful to me, like liberal or conservative. Like they didn't always agree with me, of course, but they respected the level of effort I was putting in to do this as well, and they heard me out. And most of the time, everybody was very nice to me as well. So I certainly don't think we're at a impasse of where it's impossible to turn back and try to.
Well, I
You
think
know,
also it's because if you're with somebody face to face, it's hard to get into that kind of, you want to get throw art fight into fighting words, right?
yeah, I mean, and I wasn't going into it like I wanted to fight either. I just
Yeah,
wanted
yeah. But I
to.
think it's just a civil discussion. Like if you're with a person, I mean, I had a cab driver that was wearing his mag hat,
Mhm.
and he knew I wasn't really down with that.
Yeah.
But we had a conversation about healthcare, and
Mhm.
he admitted
Mhm.
that maybe Medicaid for all might be good. Medicare for all might be a good thing, and he had the MAGA hat on.
Mhm.
So so I chose to, and I didn't. Some liberals will get in and see the MAGA hat, and then they get triggered, and they
Mhm.
want to get into a shouting match, and they want to get out of the car. It's like, well, I'm
Yeah.
not going to have you drive me around. I decided, I talked to the guy,
Yeah.
and we actually had and he actually was coming over to the side of like Bernie's side.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, so you can have a conversation if you don't get triggered.
Yeah. I mean, people
You know?
don't want to get in huge arguments in the middle of their day, no matter what. Honestly, if you want to have a nice conversation, you can, and that's great that you did that. To be honest, like there's still a lot of nice people, and there's still a lot of kindness in the country, and some people just. I mean, there's certainly a lot of some mean people, but some people just either don't know enough or have certain opinions about one thing or are worried about something different, and
Yeah,
or have been
they're so
listening to.
into their corner. Like if
Yeah.
you're so
Yeah.
into your corner that you can't box yourself out of the corner.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's what, like, you gotta, like, so I just decided, like, I'm not gonna look at this guy's hat and
Mhm.
decide that I can't talk to him,
Oh
and
yeah.
glare at him, or be mean to him, or say like, "Oh, I hate you."
Hmm.
Like you don't do, like, if you come in and say, "Hey, I'm a citizen of the United States. I'm a civilized person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's have a discussion." And it started because I said, he asked where I was going. I'm going to a doctor, and like I got to pay this high copay.
Yeah.
And then he said, "Oh, I hate high copay." And he said, "Oh," and then it got into this discussion where he actually was, "Oh, maybe Medicare for all wouldn't be a bad idea."
Yeah. Yeah.
I was very surprised that he would even engage on that, because I was kind of like, "Oh, the stereotype is that they wouldn't engage on that. They would
Hmm.
just say the state line,
Yeah.
which is, we don't like that."
Yeah.
And that's not what he did. And so I said, "Well, then that means that we could have conversations."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, for sure. So I want to build off that a little about what I saw when I was kind of around the country in certain areas. So I did get exposed to quite a bit of liberal propaganda as well as conservative propaganda. And they all have kind of the same message that comes down to is that you should be half the country is your enemy, which was very concerning to me. So, in the liberal propaganda, they wanted to make you more angry about what the government is doing. In the conservative propaganda, they wanted to make you more fearful of what the liberals thought and were doing, which is very dangerous. But I mean, if you're watching this, whatever you are, half the country is not your enemy. Like, there's a lot of misinformation going around. There's a lot of people that benefit from, honestly, the country infighting over actually trying to improve what's going on. And I mean, if you, again, like you said, if you honestly start talking to people, there's not as much animosity as you
Oh, we're all human beings. I
expect.
mean, it's kind of like the Victorians had this idea about the looking glass self. You look in
Mhm.
the mirror and you kind of talk back to yourself. You do a little bit of work, inner
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
But once you do some inner work, you can go and talk to people outside.
Mhm.
And I think some people just haven't done enough inner work to get outside of their own dogma.
Mhm.
They got like
Mhm.
an internal voice that's preventing them to communicate.
Mhm.
And then they align with what's comfortable. Like as an artist, we have to tread into the uncomfortable to make progress. As an artist, I can't just play the same thing I was doing when I was 17 or
Mhm.
when I was 25. I'm 57, right? So I try to go into things that maybe is uncomfortable, but
Mhm.
people tend to not want to push the uncomfortable because when you go into something uncomfortable, that means you might be vulnerable. You
Yeah,
might not
yeah.
be the best at it.
Mhm.
You might not know everything about it. So you're so scared of making a mistake that you don't do anything, or you stay where you always been.
Mhm.
And I think that's the big danger is people stay where they've always been. And if where all you've been in is a conflict saying, I'm gonna own the libs, or I'm
Mhm.
gonna own the MAGA,
Yeah.
right? Like, well, that's not a good place to be. That's not how you get forward.
It's also not very mentally healthy for yourself to be in that mindset as well. Um, but yeah, and building on that as well, like, I think you have, not just for your thought process to change your opinions, you have a responsibility to yourself to grow over time, whether it's your political opinions or how you live your life, or even through your job or something like that. So it's always good to be able to reflect on yourself and
Or know
honestly
what you
protect
don't know.
yourself.
I mean, I
Yeah,
think some people gotta understand, like, you're always learning, you're always growing until you're not here.
yeah, oh yeah,
If you think you know everything, that's the biggest mistake ever, right?
yeah.
If
You're
you
you're you're always changing until you're not here. Not everybody is growing. There's
Well, not everybody, well, you'd hope that they're growing. I mean, I'm a
yeah,
Buddhist, that's aspirational.
yeah, yeah.
I hope that everybody grows,
Mhm.
but, not everybody does. But,
Yeah.
the aspiration is every human being can better themselves, whether they win the day, you can win the moment. You
Oh
don't have
yeah,
to win
yeah.
everything, right?
So
You can actually just grow a little bit and move through your discomfort.
discomfort. Yeah, yeah,
That's it's not about being perfect. Being an artist, the biggest thing about being an artist is we allow our imperfections to be out in the world,
yeah.
and people
Mhm.
think it's actually our imperfection becomes the standard.
Was it scary for you to start being an artist yourself when you began, or how did you feel about it when you were?
To me, being a musician was a way I could communicate. It's cathartic,
Mhm.
and I had it was easier for me to put something through a clarinet or through like a Fender bass or through a
Mhm.
Steinway or something.
Yeah.
It was easier to talk that way, and
Okay.
I could pour my emotions into it, and then I wasn't as scared about letting people hear it, and then
Mhm.
later I got more confidence to actually speak
Mhm.
after being able to show people I could do that,
Yeah.
and so then it became, like, less fearful of doing things that are kinda different, like going to Japan. I mean, I lived in Japan for 2 years, I didn't speak Japanese, I
That's
put
that's
myself in
really
a
cool. Yeah.
situation. But,
Yeah.
like, if you go and you put yourself into situations and say, "Hey, maybe I don't know it, but I think I can add value."
Mhm.
And that's how I moved in my career as a software guy. I've moved into things I didn't have any business being in, but I got into it.
I mean, a lot of times I've learned that, like, it's good to excel, in school and stuff, but it's sometimes just the most motivated people kind of rise to the top if they get a good shot, and if you're willing to take a chance on yourself and do something that other people would find scary, or not want to risk, you can find yourself in a great position. So
Yeah, because there's a lot like, some people can either think it's all over
mhm.
or every day that I'm here, I have an opportunity.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that think they're at the end or they can't go past the bubble or they can't get past the ceiling.
Hmm.
Most of the time, that ceiling is you're creating the ceiling, the glass ceiling. You're the one that created it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And once you realize that, like, once you get past your own limitations
Mhm.
and you realize it's really about the perfection trap. It's about trying the comparison trap.
Mhm.
Like you want to be Elon Musk, but you're not going to be Elon Musk tomorrow,
Yeah.
right? But you could try to do things that, like, I want to be innovative. I want to be a thinker. Like, I want to try to create some wealth for myself and my family. You could start, but maybe you're not going to reach that goal, but you could start. You don't have to say, "Well, I can never do it." And there's probably too many people that say, "Well, I'll never do it, so I won't even try."
Yeah. I've learned personally, I think what's been helpful for myself and might not be for everybody is not being okay with failure. You know what I mean? Like if it doesn't work out, that's fine. Try it a different
Yeah,
way. Try
that's
something else.
fail
Yeah.
upward, and that's kind of what we say in IT is we fail upward. I mean, most of the stuff, what we do in IT is we do a lot of our stuff is experiments. It's like the
Mhm.
mad inventor, right? Most of the stuff we design doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like most of the stuff we design does not work.
Yeah.
It's like the 1% of what we did actually, oh, that's the good idea. But you didn't see the 99 things that didn't work,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
And so, like in this world, like most of the time, you would say, "Well, you got 99 failures. Why didn't you just give up?" Because that one that gets through
Mhm.
is magical. And so we
Oh yeah.
work toward that, and we look at the 99 things as steps that got us to the one that worked.
And it makes it special when it does work out because
Yeah,
it means that you've actually problem solved how to get there and you've worked hard enough to get there and it's you know positive and it's a big confidence booster honestly when you hit that one or
yeah.
something.
I
So
think that's the thing is that some people think like, oh, that person just got there magically.
mhm.
And there's a lot of people with the Horatio algebra myth. They try to act like that. They just did it all by themselves.
Oh god no.
And that's not how it happens. It's
So,
like it's a team. Like every time I do something, it's a big team.
yeah. Well,
And you that's how it works.
yeah, and let me talk about how that worked on my ride too, because when I was riding across the country, it was a solo ride, but I had a ton of help from people. Like that time I told you I was in a snowstorm in Pollock Pines, some random lady just offered to drive me to Walgreens. That was great. I
Yeah,
didn't know who she was. I
that's
had some
I've had a lot of stories like that.
yeah, some guy who was I was talking to him on the bike and he offered to watch my bike while I went to Target and could pick up some supplies and stuff like that. I had friends come help me from everywhere. Some people carried my stuff. So when I was one of my good buddies, I was going up Loveland Pass, which is 12,000 feet, and I was riding up. He actually took all my gear off the bike
Or to make it easier so you
yeah,
get
so I'd have all the weight. And that was one of the best days. I had a great time riding up the mountain instead of dragging 35 pounds up the mountain and
yeah,
probably
yeah,
being
I was
miserable.
wondering
Yeah,
that's a hard
yeah,
pull when you
yeah,
got
yeah.
that weight. It's
So,
hard enough when you're like, I'm a mountain biker, and, like, when I'm climbing up the ridge line
mhm,
in my granny gear, you
yeah.
know? And then we got my backpack on, my camelback on, and all that other
Mhm.
stuff. It's like, I wish I didn't fill this camelback.
Yeah,
Maybe
to
I
have
should
to
have
drink
filled
more
it.
earlier in the ride to get the weight down.
Maybe I drink
Yeah.
it all, but it's like it's still on there. But
Yeah, I carried a fair bit of water, and I would definitely notice the hills at the end of the ride. It was nice to have the water finished up by the
yeah,
from going
yeah.
up that last hill.
Yeah,
So,
that's just amazing. Cause I mean, I'm a mountain biker, I'm not a roadie,
mhm,
but it's like the kind of like climbing hills is part of like, cross country.
mhm,
So like you spend all that time climbing the hill so you can go down the creek bed.
mhm, yeah.
So and then the whole thing about mountain biking is you've got to have the aerobic ability to climb that hill and then be able to hold on coming down.
That is an underrated. I have wrecked a few times, not really thinking about that. You got to be like mentally focused mountain biking, so you're on top of it as you're rolling down this rocky terrain.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really put yourself at the limit mountain biking going up to the top because you're
Yeah,
not
you
going
gotta
to
be
be with it
careful if you
mentally
don't
to
you
get
gotta
down.
maintain enough to be able to come down the creek bed,
Yeah, yeah.
because if you
So,
too if you put too much into climbing it, you won't be able to make it down. You still have to be alert, you have to be able to deal with those rocks and roots and know how to maneuver that bike down,
mhm,
and so that's like, even probably coming down a hill of a big mountain,
mhm.
like, you gotta be like, "Well, I can't blow the brakes, but
That.
I
Oh
can't
yeah,
run rims." So how did you handle coming down?
I messed that up. So like I said, I was not really experienced in this as well, but I came off the Rockies and I felt pretty good, and I didn't have the gear. Remember, I told you I didn't have the gear the
Mhm.
last day or so. and I did kind of blow out my brakes, but I didn't realize it because it breaks a lot. It's harder to brake with all the weight on it.
Yeah, it's a
So
lot.
I get out of Denver and I'm going east, and I kind of hit Kansas, and by then I'm like, oh, the brakes just are not working well. And luckily, Kansas is very, there's not many turns. You get on a dirt road and you go straight for about 30 miles. Yeah. So, and there's not much traffic. And usually the dirt roads in Kansas are actually kept up pretty well. So I have to go 400 miles to the next bike shop because there's really not much of anything in Western Kansas. So I get to the bike
shop. Have the gear? Did it even
have
the
gear? So I finally get to the bike shop, and it's a bike shop / mini golf course / driving range / music venue / disc golf sales place.
It's not the top bike shop in the world.
So I get there. I'm like, okay, can I get new tires? Because I didn't realize this. I had the bike weighted in the back more. So when you do that, you have to rotate your tires like a car.
You got
the back tire was completely bald and the front tire was weird. So I got new tires that they had, but they didn't. It's only a small part of that shop was bikes, so they didn't have the resin brakes that I needed. So then I had to go another 150 miles to Salina, Kansas
to find a resin
to get like actual brakes. And Salina was like, I think they were the first. They were after there was one Walmart at like the Kansas Colorado border. That was the next town with like a Walmart, to say like how small of an area I was going through. So yeah, no, there was a lot of learning on the go.
You think like mountain disc brakes would be a good thing if you did it again?
I had disc brakes. They were just the pads themselves were the resin pads. You
weren't trying to play with those rims, because those rim brakes would have burned you coming down a mountain.
Oh yeah. No, that was tough. But yeah, those brakes lasted the rest of the trip, which was good. Which was probably about halfway. So that was probably like almost 2,000 miles, which is a lot. So. But yeah, it was 3,732 miles total was the ride. Yeah.
You want to do it again?
So I'm 37. I remember thinking before this, I'm like, this is probably the age where I'm at the limit of how I can do it physically. And yeah, this trip pushed me to the absolute limit. Like I was on the floor riding up some of this stuff.
I gotta try something different next time. It's like, well, maybe we like.
I would do more ride for ride stuff. Do like group ride protests for sure, but go straight across,
not as big a trip.
Yeah, the ride, it was incredibly challenging. I mean, just the fact that you're by yourself, and it's like, like the brakes. It's like, well, I should get these fixed now. It's like, well, I'm not, because there's nowhere to get them.
There's nowhere to get them.
Yeah. Fixed at, so we're gonna go.
Did you have like a pump or like the CO2 cartridges for your tires?
So I got a travel pump, and again, being a novice at this sport hurt me. So the travel pump is like the most annoying thing you can use on a bike. It's tiny, but it doesn't pump well because you need the bigger to get the air pressure going.
Yeah.
So I got cartridges.
Yeah, you want to get the CO2.
And then I screwed up the two cartridges at once. So I had a section from Denver to Goodland, Kansas, just over the border. It was like 4 days. It was 4 or 5 days. So I had a couple cartridges and 2 spare tires. So it's like, yeah, I'll make it there. And if I have to refill at the Walmart, I'll get more stuff. So I blew a tire in the middle of the road, ended up trying to fix it like on the right next to the road. And luckily a lady in a house next to me was like, hey, you can fix that on my lawn and you can get some water. So I was like, oh, that's nice.
That's great.
So fixed it up, put the cartridge in, and then started going, and it was low. And I looked and I realized there's these plants called goat heads in that area, and they're basically little spike balls. Yes, little thorns, and they're all over the place. So I realized I missed one of those goat heads when I was there. So I pulled it out. Yeah, it reflatted in like 10 miles. So then I had to put another tire on, and then messed up the cartridge insert so it didn't seal right on the tire and blew it out.
Yeah, you gotta use that goop. Like get that magic stuff with mountain bikers. We use like this goop stuff you can spray into the.
Yeah, so I didn't. I had sealant when I would go into towns, but I didn't carry it with me. So I could have picked it up at the Walmart, but I didn't. So anyway, I'm in Stratton, Colorado, for the 10 of you that know where that even is. So I'm looking on Amazon to get like an order to come in, and it's so remote. The order is going to be in like 2 days.
So
and
you
the
couldn't even
hardware.
get it to come the same day to the locker or something you were trying to
Yeah,
get.
exactly. So I couldn't get that. So I called my buddy in Denver. I'm like, hey, do you want
Yeah,
to?
the trip it could be so
I'll buy you some concert tickets later. So he picked up some stuff in Denver and drove it to me, and that was incredibly nice of him. But yeah, that was
that's
well,
cool. Like you
yeah,
had a lot of help. Like that's the
yeah.
team
Oh
thing
yeah,
you're
yeah. No,
talking about. Like it
yeah.
wasn't.
I did a YouTube channel, so I had each day on YouTube, and the last day I said thank you to everybody, and I think I said it the way I wanted. I said it was a solo trip, but I wasn't alone the
Yeah,
whole
you had
trip.
a
Like
community. You had a whole,
I'd help when I needed it. Yeah, for sure. So,
that's
but
awesome. So
yeah.
people like if they go to your website, they have that have all the
Yeah, so the
video.
website, it's www.ride4rights with the number four.
Mhm.
And it has all the links to all the social media, YouTube, Instagram, Blue Sky, Reddit.
All that.
Um, if you just search on any of those platforms, Ride for Rights, it'll come up. Instagram, it's Ride for underscore rights. But again,
Yes,
it's
I
all
think I
on my
have it right
website.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it also on below. We have the links there,
Mhm.
and they will be within the podcast description. And we do encourage people to click those links to find out more about what we've been talking about, and give you any support that you have anything for that. Do you people can support what you're doing, or they just find out about what you're doing?
So, I mean, what kind of the purpose of Ride for Rights is it started as kind of we talked about as like promoting, belief in democracy, but it's become like a way to encourage people to get out and protest. Like, you're never believe that you don't have power to change the world the way you want it to. But you need to get outside. It's not something that you can sit behind your keyboard. You have to go out. You have to be seen,
Get part
and
of
you
it.
have to if you want America to not turn to fascism, and you want ICE to stop grabbing random people off the street, you have to go outside and protest. And
Yeah,
it always has worked. It will work if enough people go out, and it's to encourage you to be active, honestly. And if you're old and you don't go outside, try to volunteer for an organization. They need their emails helped out on. They need a lot of stuff. I've seen a lot of good organizations that are not as organized as they should be. So a lot of organizations need help.
yeah.
Um,
If you're a techie,
yeah,
you could go and volunteer your tech
absolutely.
skills for an
Yeah.
organization, help them make a better website, make them more effective with their SEO. You could do all kinds of things as a techie even if so if you're disabled, but you're a techie,
Mhm.
you can get out there, you can help. So there's a lot of ways to help.
Yeah.
So I do encourage people to get out there and do whatever they can.
Yeah. And yeah, it's hopefully to inspire you to be a peaceful protester that's very active. And it, it's important that we're living in an era of time that will have ripple effects for a lot, for essentially,
Generations. Yeah.
honestly, even no matter how this goes. So yeah, it's important that you get out there and be active. You have a responsibility for yourself, but also your neighbors and your kids to try to make honestly the world better for people and better for you. So again, I encourage you, get out there, be active. So
I do encourage people to do that because, like, if people think you're okay with something, like a non-decision, a
mhm.
non-action is a decision. So when people don't respond, people think, well, they're okay with that.
Yeah.
You need to let people know you're not okay with it.
And honestly, I saw that a lot throughout the country. Like I would say, getting a vibe from most states everywhere, overwhelmingly people are not happy with what's going on, but there is a certain level of just apathy
Yeah,
that I'm getting from a ton of people that is kind of the reason that maybe the crowds aren't as big. So, but yeah, get out there, try to motivate other people to get out there, and things will change for the better.
I
So,
definitely believe that. I want to thank you for being with us on a Friday. And we do encourage people to click the link. We do have the links below for www.rideforrights.com and also for your Instagram, which is ride4_rights. And I want to thank you for being a guest on the Family Electric Goes podcast tonight.
it was great talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.